Hello guys, today we will be focusing on how to send an email using the SMTP library of Python. First of all, we need to import the first we should install the library, SMTP library of Python, SMTP library Python installation. We'll copy the command. We'll go to the command prompt and we'll paste the command and enter. Since I have already installed the secure-smtp library, it is already satisfied. But before installing this, I think we should have installed the pip library. I have already installed it, Python pip. If there's an error for that, you could install pip first, pip command, our command already satisfied, and then the pip install secure SMTP library. It is also already satisfied as I've already installed both the libraries, both the pip and the library. Now let us go into the code. First we should import the library, SMTP library, and first of all we should set up a server. I'll create a setup server method to do so, and server equals SMTP library dot SMTP, and I'm using Gmail, so the host would be smtp.gmail.com, and the port number would be 587. And then we should start the server, start TLS, and I'm going to return the server object. Here the start TLS is a protocol command used to inform the email server that the email client wants to upgrade to an insecure connection from an insecure connection to a secure one using the TLS or SSL. Here we are using the TLS, and next we need to log in to the email, the sender email from which you are going to send the email. Login, I'll create a method for that as well. Login, I'll take the server object as the argument. The server setup would return a server, so that the server could be used as an argument here for the login. And we need the address. I'll take it as an input as a sender email dot string. The user will be giving an input for the sender email address, and also the password as well. Password strip. And we are going to use the login method of the server. The parameter server itself has a login method, and that method takes the address as well as the password. This is for authentication purposes, and this login is different from this login, and This login is for the server, and this login is a method we have defined, and I'm going to return the address so that we could use it later. Now let us create an email. For that I'll create a method called create email, and this would take the address, and for this we need to import MIME multipart and MIME text. They could be imported from email.mime.multipart. From that we could import MIME multipart, and from email.mime.text we could import MIME text. And now we need a recipient email so that we could send the email to him or her. So the recipient email, I'll take that also as an input. Recipient email, enter recipient email. And now I'm going to create a MIME message for the email. The message is a MIME multipart. I'll create an instance of a message. Now we should set up the parameters for the message. Set up parameters, and the parameters are to, from, and subject. First let us set up the from parameter. Let us set up the from parameter as the address, the sender's email, and message. Now we'll set up the to parameter, that is the recipient email, and the message needs a subject parameter. I'll take subject as an input from the user. Enter subject of the message. Strip it as well. And now we need the message. The message we are intending to send to the recipient from the sender email. I'll take it as an input itself. So enter message. Strip it as well. And email could be created in two different ways. We could have only text, as well as we could add attachments as well. Now first of all, we could add attachments. We could add multiple attachments as well. So I'll create a command like thing so that the user can he or she could decide whether to send an attachment as well. I'll take it as an input, whether yes or no. Would you like to send an attachment? I'll say yes or no. Based on the input of the user, we could send the attachment. or not. And we need a number of attachments as well. He or she could send multiple attachments, so we'll take it as an input as well. Input enter number of attachments, so that the user could decide. And since there would be multiple attachments to be done, we would use a while loop, while I less than num attach, number of attachments. And if the attachment, whether need to attach or not, the user would have decided earlier, he would have typed yes or no. If he has typed yes, then we should add attachment. Let's say add an attachment as a command here. Else lf attach equal no, then no attachment. And if he has given a wrong input, he has not inputted yes or no, or something different than yes or no, then we'll ask him again. We'll ask him again whether he needs an attachment or not, so that we don't need to if he gives an invalid input, something invalid here, he should answer as yes or no, but he gives an invalid input, then else then the while loop would return, or would go again, so that here we should increase the I, and here we should increase the I, so that if an invalid input is given, again the while loop would run an extra time. And we could make it more specific, like if the user gives input in lowercase letters, that would be a problem. So we'll make it as lower, whether he gives it in capital letters or lowercase letters, then it won't be a problem now. Now we'll return the message. Now we'll create a method to send the email, where we would use the server as well as the message as an argument. And here we have set up the server, and a server would be returned. Here we create an email and the message would be returned, and those returned things could be used, or returned ones could be used here as an argument. So for this you would need the message. From email we will import the message, and the server will use the send message method, and we'll send the message. And after sending message we have no need to keep the message, so we'll delete the message as well, and we'll print successful on the console, so that the user knows that that the sending was successful. And the next point is we can add an attachment. So we'll create a method here as add attachment. Add attachment. For the add attachment, we need the message to which we should add the attachment. Here the email created would result in a message, so this message could be used to add an attachment to the same message. So here, so when he says yes, when the input is yes, there will be an attachment of a file along with the message. So in the attachment method, we need to import the MIME base and the encoders from email.mime.base. We will be importing MIME base, and from email we will be importing the encoders. And first we need to know the file in which we are going to send it in the email. We are going to the attachment, we need the name of the attachment, so I'll take it as an input itself. So we'll get the absolute path, enter path of the attachment file. The user would input the attachment file's path so that he could send it to the intended recipient. Absolute path. And first we need to open the file so that we could read it. So open it, and we are opening it so that we could read it in byte format. And now we'll create an instance of the MIME base, and I'll take the variable as attachment MIME base application in the octet string. Octet string. And now we should change the payload into an encoded form, so that we take the attachment, we set a payload, so file.read. We read the file and set the payload. Here we use application and octet string as an argument, because MIME attachment with the content type application and octet string means it is a binary file, and typically we could use it. Typically it will be an application or a document, so that it could be opened in an application. So the attachment is such a document, so we use application octet string. And here the set payload method is because an email message consists of headers and a payload. A payload which is referred to as the content of the email message, and generally the payload is part of the transmitted data that we intend to send, that is the actual intended message. The payload would exclude all headers or metadata so that it would facilitate the payload delivery. And after setting the payload, after changing the payload into the encoded form, we are going to encode it into base64. Base64 is a binary to text encoding scheme, and for that we will be using the encoders we imported up here, and we will be using the encode base64 method from the encoders we imported, and we'll be giving attachment as the argument or the parameter, and we'll be attaching a header to the attachment. Let's say I'll give it as an input itself. Add header to the attachment, and dot strip. And I'll be giving client as the second argument. After adding a header, now we are going to attach the attachment to the message. We use message as an argument for the add attachment method. We will be using that message and attaching the attachment we created. Attachment, and let's say we print so that the user knows that the attachment has been added. And now the remaining part is to send the message. So that first we would use a server, so that we would use the setup server method we created, which would return a server. Setup server method will return a server, so that we get a server here, and we will be using that server to log in. Login server. The login method takes the server as an argument and returns the address. The address is the sender address, sender email address, and that would be this, the sender email address. And the message, we will be using the create email and the address. We will be using this address to create the email. Since we created the create email method using the argument address, we will be returning a message. So this will be the message. If the user has selected to add attachments, the attachments would be added, and the final message would be this message. So the next part is to send the message. We will be using the server and the message. Now the message will be sent. Here there would be some exceptions if we there would be an authentication exception if we have the password wrong, and there would be some other exceptions as well. We will be not considering that for now in this video. So now let us run the code. Let us make sure whether the code is set up as we wish. First we have set up the server, then we have logged in, then we have created an email, and we have some attachments as well. And here in the attachment we are adding a header, and here there's a problem. There should be a bracket here. That header method has two arguments, so this part would be the input given by the user, the header, and this would be the client. Okay, now I think we could proceed to run the code. Run the code. Now let us run the code, but before running the code we should make sure let us we should make sure that the access to less secure apps was turned on. First, we'll go to the Google account, and in the security tab we should make this less secure app access turned on, so that the Python could access the Gmail account. So by default it would be off. I have already turned it on. So now let us run the code. Okay, the code is working. First I'll write the send email address and then the password. And recipient email, I'll give my other email, and I'll use the subject as text subject and the message as text plus attachment message. And would we like to send an attachment? I'll say yes, we are going to send an attachment. Yes, I'll send an attachment as send two attachments. First it is asking the path of the attachment file. I already have a file by the name of a.pdf and a.png here in the D folder, so I'll use D, the absolute path, a.pdf and D also, and a header to the attachment. So I'll give as H for just I'll give it as header. Attachment has been added, and it is asking for the next attachment. Since I have said I should add two attachments, we have another request for an attachment, and I'll give here a.png. If the absolute path name is wrong, there will be an error, and we have not handled those exceptions in this code. This is just a basic code, and we need a header for that as a header too, and the attachment also has been added. Now the attachment is being in the send process. It is taking a bit of time because the PDF is around 3.51 MB, and so it needs to be uploaded. And it has been successful. The email has been sent. Let us check whether the email has been sent. And I'll go to my account. I'll go to the send bar and the text subject. We give as it as text subject, text plus attachment subject. Attachment. There are two attachments being sent. Attachments being sent. Two attachments being sent. But there is a problem that the text, the message, they enter the message text plus attachment message has not been sent yet. That is a problem. We'll figure it out why that has become a problem. And the message, this is the message we need to send. It has not been sent because there's a problem here that we did not attach the message to the MIME part. We haven't attached the message to the MIME part instance. Here the message we are sending is a MIME text because it is just a text. This message represents just a text, so that it would be message comma, and it after we add this to the message, we would observe that if we send the message, we send the email again, after running the code, we would observe some messages here as well. And okay, this time I'll run the code again. I'll run the code. It is asking for the email. And then the password. And it is asking the recipient email. I'll give the subject of the message as subject, and the message now is the message is sent with, I'll say no attachment, with one attachment. I'll be sending only one attachment. Sending an attachment, yes, I would be sending an attachment, and the number of attachments is 1. And to the path of the attachment file, I'll send the PNG file only, a.png, and a header to document is header 3. So 3 attachment has been added, and the sending is successful. Since we are sending only the PNG file, we would observe this will be much quicker than that before, since the PDF does not need to be uploaded here. And we'll refresh the Gmail, and we'll go to the send messages again. Yeah, this message is sent with one attachment, that is the text that the message we intended to send along with the attachments. We have sent one attachment, which is the PNG image. And that's all for today.
Yeah, everybody knows that I'm breaking down. Everybody knows I ain't faking now. Everybody knows my heart's vacant now. Yeah, she hates me now, I made mistakes but now